avert the threat of drought. Senegal's Macky Sall rules out third term after deadly protests. Good evening to you all. A very warm welcome to ETV News. I'm Grum Tariku. The Green Legacy Initiative aims to cover each corner of the country, according to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who initiated this summer seedling planting in South Omo Zone, South Nations, Nationalities and Peoples Regional State. Abiy says efforts here aim to avert the threat of drought and will bear fruit through sustaining these activities by planting edible seedlings. Meanwhile, the Premier underscored that relentless activities are needed to scale up Ethiopia's untapped tourism potential. We have more on that from our staff reporter, Rosa McConnell. Haptam Ashagre presents it as follows.
The Green Legacy Initiative, according to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, aims to cover each corner of the country. While initiating this summer seedling planting in South Omo Zone, South Nation Nationalities and Peoples region, Abiy said the nation's efforts here aims to avert the threat of drought and will bear fruit through sustaining these activities by planting edible seedlings. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed led a cornerstone to construct a conference resort as a part of Gebeta Lahagar project in Walaita town.
Arba Minch is an Ethiopian paradise, one that fills his or her heart and soul with happiness. I'd even go to the extent of describing it as one of the most breathtaking sceneries in the nation that we need to promote. As if this is not enough, its inhabitants are hospitable and smiley.
A conference resort which will be completed within 18 months was inaugurated in the presence of Ahmed. When completed, the resort expected to raise the nation's revenue from tourism, the Premier underlined. According to the Prime Minister, Ethiopia's benefit out of tourism is unmatched by its potential.
The facts speak for themselves, ladies and gentlemen. The nation has failed to secure $500 billion despite having vast tourism destinations. This is also despite the industry having the potential to generate fatter income and provide more jobs to the nation. Thus, we have to invest more in tourism industry and reap the benefits.
Utilizing historical, cultural and natural tourism destinations are vital to bring new faces as well as to create business-to-business relations at large, Abiy underscored.
A $30.2 million grant agreement signed between the Ministry of Finance, the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia and the United Nations Development Programme UNDP. The grant agreement is set to help Ethiopia build a strong electoral system. The Ministry of Finance has confirmed that the project has three objectives. The first objective is to strengthen NEB's organizational structure to conduct free, fair, participatory, credible and standardized elections and referendums. The second objective is to foster the participation of women and youth in the election process together with civic institutions. The third objective of the project aims to create a conducive environment for free, fair and credible elections. According to the Ministry of Finance, the project will be implemented in the next 4 years in Ethiopia. Ethiopia's ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary to Belgium, Luxembourg, and Netherlands, Hirut Zemene, and EU institution held fruitful discussions with Enrique Mora, Deputy Secretary General of the European External Action Service, on bilateral issues and related matters of mutual interest. The two sides, among others, discussed on ways to reinvigorate the strategic relations between Ethiopia and the European Union against the backdrop of EU Council's conclusion on Ethiopia, which was issued on 24 April 2023, according to the Ethiopian Embassy in Brussels. Among others, the Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, and Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, have visited Ethiopia in recent months as a sign of EU's readiness to normalize its ties with Ethiopia. Since the approval of the conclusion, EU member states have also resumed various support to Ethiopia.
የቴሌቪዥን ድርጅት አቋቁመን ስንከፍት አገልግሎቱና ጥቅሙ ከፍ ያለ መሆኑን በመገንዘብ ነው።
ETV launched its broadcasting service on the 4th floor of Addis Ababa Municipality building in a small room with 3 alt cameras. So as to broadcast the establishment conference of the Ethiopian Workers' Party, or EWP, in September 1984, the broadcast of the station was completely changed from black and white to colored images.
የአገሪቱ ፕሬዝዳንት ከስልጣን መውረዳቸው እንደሚበጅ ታመነበት ስለሆነ ይህንኑ በማመዛዘን ፕሬዝዳንት መንግስቱ ኃይለ ማርያም በዛሬው ዕለት ከስልጣን ወርደው ከኢትዮጵያ ውጪ ሄደዋል።
የዘመናት የህዝባችን ብሶት የወለደው ጀግናው የኢህአዴግ ሰራዊት ደርግ ሲጠቀምበት የነበረውን የአዲስ አበባ ሬዲዮ ጣቢያ ለሰፊው ህዝብ ጥቅም ተቆጣጥሮታል። ግንቦት 1983 ዓመተ ምህረት የመንግስት ኃላፊነትን ለመልቀቅ ጥያቄ አቅርቤያለሁ።
Welcome back, and you are watching ETV News. ETV, the 59-year-old pioneering electronic media, is gearing up to move to its new state-of-the-art media complex that rests on 11 hectares of land up in the Shogole area in the hills of Gullale, here in Addis Ababa. Constituted by no less than 5 television channels and 3 radio channels, coupled with influential cyber media platform, EBC is aggressively working to reach out to more audiences, not only the Horn of African nation, but the continent as well. EBC progressed through generations, maintaining its quality and status as the most reliable source of information, as Abayin Zawdu, its brand and global communication head, told our staff reporter Tigist Reza. Take a look.
Since 1964, EBC has been the oldest and biggest public media in Ethiopia. Currently, in its 11 acres of new media complex and with 5 television and 3 radio channels and also cyber media platforms, EBC is trying level-based to reach more audiences, being the voice for Africans across the continent. This new EBC's complex, which is comprised of television and radio studios, administration offices, sports arena, integrated agriculture and similar infrastructure, is getting ready and bringing the audience better experience in each and every platform. Approached by EBC, brand and global communications head at EBC, Abayin Zawdu, elaborated that it can proudly be stated that EBC has built one of the smartest and biggest media house in East Africa.
We have got about 10 studios, and 3 of them are radio studios and 5 of them are television studios. Talking of the Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation, we are talking about 9 channels. We have got also the cyber media. Every studio is built in a very standard way, and which enables the Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation to be a competent media in East Africa, broadly in the whole African countries. So we are proudly can tell that we just built a very smart and different media complex in Africa.
Baina further indicated that EBC has to play its major role in shaping narratives, revealing to the world the reality on the ground.
Most of the international medias do report about Ethiopia in a different way, in a very negative narratives. So we have to solve this problem. We have to tell the right agenda and the right issue for the international public. In order to do that, the pioneer media in the country is the Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation, because it is a national media. It's got its own responsibility. So the office of the Chief Executive Officer, the CEO, is working day and night in content-wise. What are the major contents we have to include in international language departments in order to address the negative narratives.
He further calls on the diplomatic community residing in Addis Ababa to work in collaboration with EBC.
I want to say for the diplomats, the ambassadors, and the international communities living in Addis, as you know that Ethiopia is the capital city of Africa. You know, most Africans do put Ethiopia in Addis Ababa as the capital of Africa. So it's the biggest responsibility. So as the national media, we are trying to work 24/7 to be the pioneer media in East Africa. We want to be heard in East Africa. We want to have a brand presence there. So we want to play a paramount role to talk about Africans and Africanism. So we're going to start from East Africa. So after the inauguration ceremony, we're going to commence at high the programs and the news which can cover or which can talk about the East African country, the countries or the nations in East Africa.
An exhibition that focuses on establishment of EBC has been opened today in the presence of the Speaker of the House of Federation, Agnew Tሻገር, as well as multiple senior media officials from various media houses.
The Joint Consortium of Ethiopian Human Rights Defenders says human rights in Ethiopia should be given top priority as it contributes for the development of the nation and the well-being of its citizens. In an exclusive interview with ETV English, consortium members called upon both government and private media outlets in Ethiopia to strive to meet their profession following the code of conduct of the profession. Kasaun Chani sat down with them and compiled the following piece.
The Consortium of Ethiopian Human Rights Organizations, CEHRO, jointly organized a consultation workshop on the implementation of the human rights situation in Ethiopia. The three organizations finally put forward recommendations to the government and the media outlets to undertake activities of development work of the nation by the law. The consultation workshop was held in the presence of various stakeholders from both government and private sectors. In an exclusive interview with BBC English, the discussants that besides strengthening the nation's judicial system, the government ought to apply tighter control on law enforcement bodies for the prevention of human rights abuses.
The human rights situation in Ethiopia, we can see some abuses, When somebody becomes something illegal, you should be charged. But the way we are seeing is, without the legal process, for example, if the media makes a mistake, if they distribute, a wrong image, a fake news and everything, let them be asked. But the process should be either you have to present it to the Media Council Ombudsman body, or you have to take them to court properly. But sometimes without this, we don't know where they are taken. We don't know why they don't appear in court. And we don't know sometimes why, without the court's order, why their offices are being closed, all this. To me, all these are not the right things, they are the wrong things. And it's not good for the government, it's not good for the public, it's not good for the media, and it's also destroying the Ethiopian image, the government image, and the society is in problem, and the media is in a problem. So, to me, this has to be very corrected as soon as possible.
Government as an entity which had the primary duty of protecting citizens, need to strengthen the security institutions so that citizens are protected from arbitrary arrest. It could be arbitrary detention, arbitrary demolition of houses, freedom of movement or whatsoever. So this is very important, that law enforcement institutions shall protect citizens in whatsoever circumstance that could cause for the violation of human rights. And also there are instances where government security people are also involved in human rights abuses in many parts of the country. This also requires accountability for government officials or security people who have been in one or another way involved in human rights violations, which can have more of a deterrence effect that can also build trust of the community and the public on the government.
They also have called upon some media outlets to conform to professionalism by delivering accurate information for the general public.
There are some media who are playing their role properly and legally, ethically, but there are also some media, especially some social medias, who have mixed up journalism and activism. There are a lot of fake news, a lot of hate speech that's working against the peace of the country, the unity of the country and all this. And some of them are even instigating, for genocide and everything, So the media should be accountable when it is becoming irresponsible and spreading fake news and hate speech.
We need to continuously build the capacity of the media houses so that they would have strong media policy, as well as editorial policy, as well as they understand and know the legal framework that they operate. And also at some point, accountability is very important. Some may do something wrong and it didn't represent in a way the whole of the media, whether the private or government affiliated or whosoever. So I think accountability is very important. Capacity building is also very important. Awareness creation on their do's and don'ts is also very important. And one of the things that we are trying to do is also to empower the capacity of media houses to be human rights sensitive, because there are at some point disinformation, misinformation, hate speech.
During the occasion, the consortium pledged to undertake and monitor human rights situations, striving for the right to freedom of expression as stipulated in Article 29 of the nation's constitution.
Foreign Minister Dammaqqa Mokonnon earlier today received Trent Kelly, a member of the House of Representatives of the United States. Their discussion focused on deepening the bilateral relations and current development in the Horn of Africa. On the discussion, Representative Trent Kelly commended the government of Ethiopia for the improvement it has made since the signing of the Pretoria Peace Agreement. The decision of the U.S. government to lift the human rights violation designation helps further strengthen bilateral and international cooperation, he noted. Kelly said Ethiopia is an important partner to the U.S. and called for continued dialogue to address other outstanding issues as well. Dammaqqa, on his part, briefed Kelly about the ongoing socio-economic developments in Ethiopia and stated the need to support the post-conflict peace-building efforts. He also welcomed the decision of the United States and said Ethiopia expects continued support from the international community at large and the U.S. in particular in its reconstruction and rehabilitation efforts. Both sides concurred on the need for concerted efforts to address peace and security challenges in the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia is set to host the first African Employment Conference under the theme Safe and Sustainable Jobs for Africa's Prosperity from July 7 to 9, 2023, Ministry of Labor and Skills said. State Minister of Labor and Skills Nugusu Tlaun stated that the nation has finalized preparation to host the Continental Conference for the first time. The conference aimed at to seek ways to promote entrepreneurship and tackle joblessness in the African continent. Nugusu elaborated that the conference will further enable African nations to cultivate guidelines necessary to expand youth-oriented employment sectors to create safe and sustainable jobs for Africa. The conference will be co-organized by Ministry of Labor and Skills, African Union, and the African Electronic Trade Group, it is stated. The ITU Secretary General and UNHCR Deputy High Commissioner are launching a new transformational agenda to bring connectivity to refugees around the world for the first time. Approached by ETV, UNHCR Deputy High Commissioner Kelly Clements stressed that meeting the connectivity needs of refugees is a lasting solution to the need to be in place. The Sarisa reports.
The International Telecommunications Union Secretary General and UNHCR Deputy High Commissioner have launched a transformational agenda to bring connectivity to refugees around the world for the first time. It is expected to be a critical first step in transforming humanitarian and development agendas to be fit for the 21st century and ensure that no forcibly displaced people are left out of the connected society. The national launch this past Friday by the Ethiopian Telecommunications Authority of the tender for a second new telecommunications license is another step closer to affordable connectivity for Ethiopia's 120 million citizens, including displaced communities that are amongst the most marginalized. Speaking to ETV, UNHCR Deputy High Commissioner Kelly Clements stressed on the visit to Ethiopia's Malkadida in the Somali regional state.
Well, the Secretary General of ITU and myself are here in country for a couple of reasons. First off, Ethiopia has been one of the world's largest hosts of refugees over many decades. We have just passed a very sad milestone of 110 million forcibly displaced people around the world. And with events in Sudan, obviously, that has been something that has affected this region quite a lot. Now, we have a few opportunities coming up with the Global Refugee Forum, which is an opportunity really for Ethiopia that has had some of the world's most progressive refugee policies to be able to advance even further some of those commitments.
Clements further added that the connectivity is immensely important for refugees around the world.
Basically, we've found globally that refugees are half as likely to be connected than host communities. And this is not an exception here in Ethiopia, but there are also Ethiopians that are not connected and are in great need of that kind of support in terms of coverage. For refugees, and they are the ones to express their needs, normally it has been material support. You would think that they would say that they first need. You know, it's food, it's water, it's shelter. Increasingly, we're hearing in interviews of refugees that are coming across the border, even now, where Ethiopia has been very generous about keeping their borders open. They say, we want to have access to services. We want to know what's available. We want to know where we can find Wi-Fi, where we can find the ability to be able to learn, even if they're not in their homes. And when people are uprooted and really come with almost nothing, many, it's just a mobile phone that they're taking with them. So increasingly, digital connectivity is as important, if not more important, than some of those material needs that people would have.
She indicated that to meet the connectivity needs of refugees, lasting solutions need to be put in place, she noted.
So our aim is to be able to expand, and refugees tend to go, I mean, obviously there are a large number in urban settings as well, but they're also in very remote areas. In the place where we were yesterday in Malkadida, the nearest grid was 350 kilometers from where we were, which means we need to find other solutions. Mini grids, for example, using solar power to be able to bring, again, energy to a community that would otherwise be cut off. This allows people to find out where services are available locally, be able to access education because they're already thinking about their future and how they rebuild their lives. And also, for example, as I mentioned earlier, where if you want to try to rebuild and look at livelihoods and you're a farmer and you don't know what the weather is going to bring, that you can then use your connectivity to be able to have that available at your fingertips as well.
The African Development Bank has approved a 26.1 million euros loan to construct an underground power transmission line as part of the Ethiopia-Kenya electricity highway to boost power supply at the Kenya's Laikipia Air Base and surrounding areas. The Pan-African lender disclosed in its review of the Kenya-Ethiopia electricity highway project saying that 132 kilovolts underground cable network stretching 16.5 kilometers will link Nanyuki and Romomoti stations in Kenya. The substation, whose completion is targeted before the close of next year, is part of integration of the Ethiopia-Kenya Power Interconnection Project as Kenya ramps up electricity imports from Ethiopia.
Prime Minister Meles Zenawi left for Kinshasa early today to attend the summit meeting in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Hello viewers, welcome